No, I have not abandoned this channel yet. It's just that I've been very busy on, outside things like school and stuff. So today's topic will be the shift in the Hispanic vote in the San Joaquin Valley of California. Or we'll just go through California at all. Why not? Um, you might be saying, oh, why are you focusing in California? It's so heavily Democratic. Um, oh, it's not going to make a huge dent. Well, number one, yes, it will, because California is, you know, has a Hispanic plurality. So a shift, in that is pretty big. I mean, and plus, any vote counts. One vote counts. It doesn't matter, if you're in the deep blue areas of the San Francisco Bay or the very red areas near Bakersfield. It does not matter. I mean, it matters. What doesn't matter, is people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter," don't vote. Just vote. It doesn't matter, I mean, you don't have to, follow the what the rest are going. Um, but yeah, today I just wanted to focus on the trend, and we'll just start in the San Joaquin Valley because this is the area that I most know. I'm from the San Joaquin Valley, and in the San Joaquin Valley, I mean, it's pretty Republican, especially in the rural areas, especially in the towns of Bakersfield and the old towns of this area, um, and the suburbs of Fresno, stuff like that. Um, but the San Joaquin Valley also has a lot of Hispanic population. There's towns that are heavily Hispanic, and I'll go through a few here. Shafter, Wasco, McFarland, Bunwillow, Delano, Arvin, these places here in this side of Bakersfield, it's heavily Hispanic. And there's been shifting. It's been a considerable shift, and this will impact 2022, even 2024. So yeah, in the map here, it's been, all these voted pretty Democratic, especially McFarland, that's heavily Democratic. But as you can see the shift here, Wasco, there's precincts here that voted 17% more Republican, 28% more Republican. Shafter, voted more Republican. McFarland, the Hispanic area of Bakersfield is just pretty much around here. And Arvin, Bunwillow, a small little town in the San Joaquin Valley in Kern County. It's pretty much a forgotten town. It voted in the last election. I mean, this election it voted 48 for Joe Biden, 51 for Trump. But in 2016, it voted 61 for Hillary. So you can see that shift, 30 points, shift. That's a big shift. And that town is majority Hispanic. There's a lot of shift in these towns. In the towns of Avenal, the towns of Coalinga, there's a lot of shift around these towns. And, the parts of the Hispanic areas of these towns. Mendota's heavily Hispanic. Fireball's Hispanic. Madera, heavily Hispanic. You can see that trend here. The Hispanic and minority areas of Fresno, Los Banos, the Hispanic area, heavy areas of Los Banos. Livingston, really trending Republican. Turlock has trended more Republican. I mean, that town actually votes Republican. And that's pretty much in the Hispanic heavy areas of Stockton voted, trended Republican. Yes, on the map, they voted, Democratic, but a shift is a shift, especially if the nation trended 3 points, to the left in 2020. This is pretty considerable. I mean, Corcoran, again, shifts the whole valley here. What does that mean? It's an indicator of the Hispanic vote. The Hispanic vote is a growing, how do you say, like, it's a growing percentage of votes. More Hispanics are voting in each election. They pretty much, they could decide if Arizona stays Republican or Democratic. They have a good, say in California, Nevada, Arizona, and Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, where, these states, they have heavy Hispanic populations. These areas could, flip. So if more Republicans could, vote, if more Hispanics vote Republican, that's good for the Republican Party. Now in 2020, does that mean in 2022 and 2024 is going to continue, shifting? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the candidates. It also depends. Trump lost a good amount, not lost a good amount, but, lost some of the Hispanic votes in 2016. But he regained it and surpassed it in 2020. In the border areas of California, Imperial County, I know this county a lot too. Um, you know, it's a mix up. The rural areas are Republican, but, the Hispanic heavy areas of El Centro, Brawley, and Calexico, these are forgotten towns too. These are left, by Sacramento, by Washington D.C. They're left behind. They no infrastructure. This infrastructure is like from the 1980s. Poor infrastructure. It's forgotten. And yes, they voted, kind of Democratic, especially Calexico. But as you can see, the shift in 2016, 32 points, 25 points, 88 points. I mean, this is probably like 5 people that voted there. Yeah. But, gives you an indication. You see the rest of the town, 20, 30, upper 30s, little Centro, 20s, 15s, 30s. And this is right on the border, too, to Mexicali. These votes indicate a shift here. They're starting to reject Joe Biden's, welcome all, illegals pouring from the southern border. Um, Especially in the border regions here. You can see it in Arizona, you can see it in New Mexico, you can see it in Texas, the border regions. This will be, a topic for a different video. Um, the Hispanics in those borders, they're starting to get tired of that because, why are the illegals now starting to get a special treatment when they, are left behind, in the dust? Um, you can see this everywhere too. In Los Angeles. Los Angeles, everybody knows Los Angeles has a huge Mexican population. And you can see this shift here. All of this is, pretty Hispanic, this is more like Asian population here, but this is like the Mexican American population here. You can see 37 points more Republican, 17, 20, 12. This area here really trended Republican. Now, yes, on the map, oh, yeah, you voted 57 points for Biden. But indicates a shift here. That voted 84%. That voted 84 to 77. It's 83-68. Indicates a shift here. And, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Indicates a shift that, yeah, they're tired of being left behind. I mean, the problem with the Democrats too is that they think that all Hispanics are the same. They think that a Cuban American is going to vote the same as a Mexican American or a Puerto Rican American or whatever. They think they're going to vote, the same. And they're trying to appease, all that, but it's not working out. Problems in Venezuela is not going to affect the Mexican American population that much, because it's a different country. Who cares? I mean, for them, oh yeah, but somewhat, but not really. The thing here, though, is that this could indicate, a stronger base in Arizona for Trump, Texas, New Mexico, even, because the Hispanic area here, the areas, they're also getting tired of, just just the Democrat, pandering to them and saying, "Oh, oh look, I'm pretending to care about, your issues. Vote for me, and I'll take care of them." And then they vote for them, and then they're left in the dust for 4 years, and then they ask for the same vote again, and then a lot of these people blindly just vote for them, but that's the problem here. They're starting to wake up on that because their communities here are getting left behind. Soledad, Salinas, Watsonville, these areas are heavily Hispanic. Then you can see that trend here, especially around here. Your area is heavily Hispanic. I'm telling you, the minority areas of San Jose, heavy Hispanic. Population and trend too. 30 points, 15 points, 28 points. So they're starting to notice that. And the liberal media is just, not really focusing on that, if you know what I mean. They care more about, other dumb things like, the progressives, stuff like that. They're not really putting note into that. And but yeah, the Hispanic population, they're starting to realize that, they're starting to get left behind. Democrats are starting to pander to other people, and plus the Hispanic vote is different. Again, the Hispanics in Florida are different than the Hispanics here. The Mexican Americans, they're starting to wake up. They're starting to feel left behind. And plus, you know, their communities here in the San Joaquin Valley, um, they're getting affected because this area here is all left behind. I mean, everybody that's outside of California doesn't really know this region. I mean, I understand. I mean, everybody thinks of, the Bay Area and Los Angeles. But this is where a lot of the food comes here. A lot of the food of the United States, this is where it's grown, this area here. And Democrats, they're starting to get more environmentalists. And they're starting to, they want to dump a lot of water through the Bay Area and, to save some fish or whatever. But in turn of that, they're not building any more reservoirs. The canals are left there. I mean, they need drastic, upgrades. A lot of these canals are built in the 60s and they're still, with that technology or, the same things. And we need more reservoirs, we need more water storage, we need everything. And they're dumping a lot of the majority of the rivers, the water into the ocean. And it's hard for the people in the San Joaquin Valley, to grow things, job dependency too. A lot of the Mexican Americans in the Central Valley, they work in agriculture, from from actually owning farms to freaking, harvesting the produce. I've harvested produce myself, and it's getting harder, and it's more scarce now because, a lot of the Newsoms and Democrats, they just don't want to build reservoirs or anything water infrastructure, and they care more about some fish, in the Delta than feeding millions and millions of people, and a lot of the jobs in the San Joaquin Valley, they're ag based. A lot of the Hispanics, they work in that. They're agriculture. They won't work on anything else apart from blue collar, and you could say, oh, why don't they learn programming? Well, it's true. They could learn programming, right? I mean, anybody can, but who's going to harvest the food here? Who's going to harvest? Who's going to grow the food? You know, that is the thing here, and the water here is a big issue in the San Joaquin Valley. I mean, California whole. I mean, central, northern, southern. You know, the water issue is big here, but everybody's starting to take note of that. That the water infrastructure here is left behind. The whole area here is left behind. I mean, you could tell when you go to Sacramento, the Bay Area. The roads are all nice and beautiful. I mean, not the most beautiful, right? But they're an upgrade to here. I mean, here there's some roads that are filled with potholes. I mean, the whole area here is forgotten, and the Mexican Americans, the Hispanics, they're starting to wake up on that. Hey, the Democrats here, they've been pandering to illegals from Central America, South America, and they're not focusing on our issues here in the San Joaquin Valley, like water rights. Just the workers' rights. They're not really focusing on the blue collar either. And also, a lot of the Hispanics will work on oil jobs too. A lot of whites and Hispanics. And, Democrats, they're, anti oil, and Republicans are, they're more coal and oil, especially, in Kern County and the areas of Western Fresno County. And you could see here the votes, heavily Republican. I mean, the shift, I mean, yeah, a lot of the oil towns here. Yeah, there's a few areas here, that voted much more Democratic. But again, it's probably like, not much people. But, the actual, towns, oil towns, we call them down here, they're getting left behind too. I mean, infrastructure is a big, necessity here because you need to transport the, crops to get to, the Bay Area, to supermarkets. You have to, the infrastructure is really big here and here's forgotten. And Democrats are more focused on progressive issues than, the actual people's needs. And that's why blue collar areas, they're shifting to Republicans because, they'd seem that, oh yeah, I mean, not all the time, right? But, a good chunk, they'll pay attention to that. Again, I mean, they're starting to wake up on that. And I mean, I understand too. I mean, I mean, when your job is not, how do you say, like when their job is seasonal, their job depends if there's enough water or not. Like, a farmer cannot grow tomatoes, and they can't go in and harvest tomatoes if there's no tomatoes. So their job depends on water here, and as water's getting scarce here because they're dumping water into the ocean. um a lot of the Hispanics here, I mean, they're fed up with that. And personally, I mean, I would too. I mean, I mean, year after year, you see the headlines, oh, there's not enough water or something like that. And but they don't do anything about it. I mean, all that they want to do is just raise our taxes and just, call it a day. But, no infrastructure, no nothing. Just raise our taxes and, in the politicians' pockets. And nothing is being done, to help with the water issue. Nothing. And a lot of people here are fed up with that. And water prices are going higher and higher. Cost of living here is going higher and higher because of that. They have to raise the prices of crops, because the water level, I mean, the water prices level is going higher. So, and the pay hour is just the same. I mean, and everything's getting higher because food prices are going higher because of that. And transportation issues, everything is just a mess here. And a lot of people here, they're starting to take note of that, and they're starting, to shift away from Democrats because all that they're pretty much proposing here is just, social issues. Oh, you misgendered me. Oh, go to prison or something. A lot of the Hispanics here, they don't care about that. They really don't. They just want to work and, make their lives better. They just want to make the lives of the children better, how to, enrich this country. They don't care about, they don't care about, social issues that much, like progressives and stuff like that. They just want to work, have stable jobs. And a lot of and a lot of that's on the line right now because, again, water issues. And, the governor and, the president is not doing anything towards that. Trump fought for the water here, and, he fought hard, but, California being a Democratic, stronghold, it wasn't that easy. But it's hard here, and a lot of the Hispanics, they're taking note of that, and they're starting to drift away and vote more Republican. This could help in 2024, as I'm telling you, with Trump if he decides to run again. The Hispanic vote, in Las Vegas, in the Phoenix, the Hispanic areas of Phoenix, they trended a little more Republican, but especially in the border areas, these could decide, if they're going to flip Arizona, Nevada, or keep Texas red. They could essentially at the end of the day decide on that. And with the Democrats, going more further left and not focusing on, what normal people need, that could, potentially happen here. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. I just wanted to, make a video, I guess, or rant, I guess, if you could say that, about the trending of the Hispanic vote in California. And I hope you enjoyed the video though, and I hope, you give this a like or whatever you want. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, if you find these informative or if you find these, entertaining, if you say so, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, I'm not really going to be, enforcing you. I mean, I can't. So, I mean, if you want to give a like or subscribe, please do so. And I hope you have a fantastic day or night or evening. And, I'll see you in the next video. Alrighty. Goodbye.